Are you kidding me with this noise? Come on, man. All right, good morning, folks. It is Friday, June 9th, 2023. Welcome to episode 384 of the Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Briefing Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Gerald Auger. The Spotify was set to shuffle, which is good, 99% of the time, but today, for the broadcast, it's not good. Messing with my production audio. Come on, Brock. All right, good morning, folks. Let me see this really quickly. All right, welcome to episode number 384, as I said, of the Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Briefing. I am your host, Dr. Gerald Auger, and over the next 45 minutes, me, you, Lyle Murden, Yacht Rock, me, Jenny Housley, Abdullah, LinkedIn crew, YouTube crew, Team Live, Team Replay, Lego Sec, you, the Simply Cyber Squad community, are going to be shredding the top cybersecurity news stories of the day. Alexandra over on Primakova over on LinkedIn, coming in hot. She's been active in the community just recently. It's good to have you in the community. Guys, we're going to be shredding the top cyber news stories of the day, right? I don't see these stories beforehand. You don't see them. I give my honest reaction and analysis of the story as they come in. We have a good time. It's all about good times here. So do enjoy yourself. The coffee, in case you haven't noticed, this is what it looks like when I'm sans coffee and woke up like 20 minutes ago. It is a Friday, though, so cut me some slack. Yesterday was a stressful stream for me, so I went off without a hitch, which was super cool. We'll talk more about that later. Before we get into the top cyber news, before we inform everybody on how they can crush it as a professional or if they're breaking into the industry, allow me to say thank you to CJ.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Thank you so much, CJ, for the super chat and for your attendance in yesterday afternoon's podcast with Intel. CJ, your questions were awesome and definitely helped facilitate the show. But before we get into all of it, guys, I do want to say shout out and thanks to the stream sponsors that make it so I can bring this to you every single morning, whether I'm team all the way, red alert, super spicy Jerry, or I'm team trying to get this coffee into my bloodstream ASAP Jerry. Barricade Cyber Solutions is consistent. They are dedicated to helping businesses from cyber attacks and recover from the damage done. Cyber attacks can cause massive issues for businesses and send dedicated, hardworking business owners into turmoil. But guess what, y'all? If you know Eric Taylor and his group, you know that Barricade Cyber Solutions knows exactly how to mitigate the damage done by cyber incidents. Put them in your Rolodex, put them on your emergency, add them to your favorites page on your iPhone. Check them out at barricadecyber.com. Links in the description below. Emotes in the emote tray if you're a squad member. That's what this emote is if you're wondering. Woo! Look at this guy coming in hot.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
That right there is a 50 gifted sub from Eric Taylor, man behind the curtain at Barricade Cyber Solution, coming in like a wrecking ball.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
Thank you very much, Eric Taylor. Hey, Team Simply Cyber squad members, you are now receiving those squads. Larry O, Chocobo coming in. Grab those. Yeah, grab them up. Syasia knows what's up. Toasty Pop's getting some. Jason, I love it. Thanks so much, Eric. It's always fun. Being able to use the emotes and participate is always a lot of fun. Where's my Oprah emote? Oprah. Everybody, you get a squad membership. You get a squad membership. Excellent. So cool. All right, I also want to say thanks to Panoptcy. Panoptcy is Brandon Poole's group, another long-term evergreen sponsor of the Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Brief podcast. Love it. Panoptcy can do quantified risk assessments, among other things, for your business. Quantified risk assessment, it basically is an activity where they come in, they look at your people, process, technology, they interview your staff, they evaluate your tech stack, and then they output what your actual risk profile is. Statistically, how likely you are to be encounter certain cyber incidents. So if you say to your boss or anyone, hey, what's your risk profile? What's your appetite for risk? They're going to be like, I don't know, like I don't want bad stuff to happen. It's like, yeah, but are you willing to spend an extra 30% of your IT budget to make it not hurt? No? Okay, so then you are willing to accept some risk because you're not willing to pay to mitigate the risk, right? And then you can have those conversations. Obviously, you wouldn't say it with the inflection and tone that I just used because you'd come across as a peckerhead. But my point is, a quantified risk assessment gives you the ammunition and the insights to be able to have those kind of conversations with the business. Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good, Eric Taylor. Super Chat's coming in strong. Gifted subs coming in strong. A lot of new squad members, so I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Now, if you are here, Team Live, lucky you lucky ducks, because you're getting a lot of new squad members coming in hot. And I will say, if your team, if you're here live, hashtag Team Live, enjoy those gifted subs. If your team replay, hashtag Team Replay. Do not have FOMO if your team replay that these gifted subs are dropping, and you're like, how can I can't get these? I will say, if there are more gifted subs than there are people in Team Live who can receive the gifted subs, I do believe they roll into the team replay. James McQuiggan from the top rope with a super chat.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Thank you so much, James McQuiggan. 2 smiles, 2 thumbs, and a cup of coffee. I'm on it, guys. Stay tuned to Jawjack, and I'll give you a big announcement on James McQuiggan. James McQuiggan just did like the double eye shocked emote. He's like, what's Jerry gonna say about me? But stay tuned to Jawjack and just remind me about James McQuiggan, please. Oh my God, the coffee's a must today. Guys, if you're on Team Replay, hashtag Team Replay in the comments. Love the commentary and the engagement in Team Replay. Like I said, I do that in the evenings for about 30 minutes every night, and it's genuinely engaging with y'all. If your team hybrid, you got here late or you got to leave early, you're going to catch up on the replay, let us know in chat. Team Hybrid, it's a special moniker, but it is a group that we are into supporting. And then finally, my favorite, I see it every time, Team Passive Observer. So hashtag Passive Observer. If you're shy, socially introverted, you see all these chats flying by and you don't know how to engage, but you know you want to, let me help you. Take the first step into professional networking, step into the light of social engagement. Hashtag Passive Observer in chat. Bjorn's here live. Bjorn is a squad member. Bjorn's professionally networking. Take that first step. You're going to be genuinely happy when you begin your professional networking activities. Emil, good morning. Hashtag Passive Observer. It's very nice to see you. Same for Belinda. Gachuki.
From the CISO series.
All right, hold on. Slow your roll, CISO series. I'm having a moment up here. I'm taking a walk up here. Don't come at me with the news too quickly. Oh, all right. Look at all these emotes. Hey, Adrian Harris. All right, guys. The production studio here is pushing the news, so obviously I'm dragging my butt up here. So give me a second. I'm going to take one more slug of coffee. I'm going to say thank you to everybody in chat. Last night's interview with Vinky was awesome. Thank you, Matthew Pelkey. Dude, I'll talk more about Vinky at Jawjack. We have a lot to talk about in Jawjacking. Okay, what's up, Egypt? I see you. Abdel Rahman. Love it. Oh, all right. Let me take one more slug of coffee, and then we'll get into the news. It's one of those days, y'all. And you know what's funny? I usually give the college kids a tough time on Friday mornings. All right, y'all. Let's get into the news. Sit back, relax, and let the cool sounds of the hot news wash over you in an awesome wave. I'll see you guys at the mid-roll.
Security headlines.
It's Friday, June 9th, 2023. New power drop malware targets U.S. aerospace defense industry. Researchers from the Adlumin Threat Research Group warn that this PowerShell-based malware uses advanced techniques to evade detection, including deception, encoding, and encryption. At this time, Adlumin has yet to link the malware to a specific threat actor, but they believe it could be a nation-state actor due to the level of sophistication of the malware and the nature of the targets. The researchers discovered power drop in the network of a domestic aerospace defense contractor in May of this year. Zipper giant.
All right. So, okay. So PowerShell-based malware. First of all, that's not new. PowerShell malware has been around forever. If you want, go look at Empire, Empire, Empire. It's a C2 framework, a post-exploitation framework, fully built in PowerShell. There's been PowerShell malware everywhere. Like a lot of the droppers, which would be kind of like your initial infection, are take advantage of PowerShell. If you don't know, really quickly, PowerShell is a Windows-based language. It's used for like IT administration. Like DOS DOS, a disk operating system. It's the black terminal shell that you see on Windows machines. That used to be like the only way. And then as time, advanced and technology got better, Microsoft created PowerShell or wrote PowerShell and for IT administration, but obviously like living off the land techniques totally take advantage of PowerShell. So the fact that this is PowerShell malware shouldn't scare you. Like, in fact, there's a is it Matthew Graber? There's a real, I think it's called PS exploit. So PowerShell file extensions are .ps1, and I think it's PS exploit is it's a really rich PowerShell. Maybe it's not called PowerShell exploit. Anyways, maybe someone in chat knows what I'm talking about. But anyways, so this isn't anything crazy. The fact that it has detection evasion, encoding, encryption, these are all standard, capabilities of modern good malware, right? If you're just some bootlick, you write crappy malware, but if you're a nation state threat actor level, you're writing good malware that has all of kind of the capabilities. The one thing that I think is interesting is that it says it's targeting the aerospace defense industry. I have to imagine that is like, your Lockheed Martins or your Northrop Grumman. So again, it's probably for espionage purposes. Go back and this has been happening forever. Go back and look at the I guess hold on, two things. One, there's nothing in this story that causes me to be scared, right? You may, if you work in aerospace or you work for a defense contractor or you're in the defense industrial base in the United States, you may want to check out PowerDrop and just see what the IOCs are to make sure that you're aware of them, and then maybe test them with your EDR to make sure that they fire. But there's nothing innovative or new about what's going on here. And I want to illustrate the point because I always find this really funny. As far as like aerospace industry espionage has been going on forever. Check this out. Okay, look at this. You know what the United States Challenger program looked like? This right here is a Russian U.S. space shuttle. This is a Russian space shuttle. Now, Russia abandoned the space shuttle program, but you may notice that it looks incredibly similar to the United States space shuttle program. I said Challenger. That was just one of them, the one that unfortunately exploded in '86. But my point is, this aerospace industry espionage, this is from the '80s. This is like Cold War stuff. All right, so this is cool. It's interesting. It keeps going. If you work in defense industrial base or aerospace, be aware of it. But we're not sounding the alarms. We're not terminating the stream to go take care of this.
And YKK confirms cyber attack targeted U.S. networks. The Japanese zipper manufacturer confirmed that its U.S. operations were targeted by hackers in recent weeks, but said it was able to contain the threat before damage was caused. The Tokyo-based corporation would not say if it had been hit with ransomware, but a spokesperson told Recorded Future News that its cybersecurity team, quote, contained the threat before significant damage was done or sensitive information was exfiltrated, end quote. Although no group has been formally identified in this attack, the Lockbit ransomware group posted the company on its leak site on June 2nd, threatening to leak data stolen from YKK by June 16th.
Yeah. So Lockbit. Okay. So first of all, I put it in chat. Outcast. Somebody call Outcast, right? Famously, YKK. Like right now, if you look down at your pants or your shorts and look at the zipper, you will see that YKK stamped on it. They basically have a lock on the zipper on the zipper industry, and they always have basically. And Outcast famously just Andre 3000 had a line at one point where he just says like YKK on your zipper, right? So, anyways, want to shout out to them. It looks like YKK, even though they're Tokyo based, they have 44,000 employees. Who knew zippers could be big business? They have U.S. offices targeted in a ransomware attack. Lockbit is the culprit behind it. Lockbit is a ransomware as a service threat actor, which basically means they have affiliates, which means that they can spread wide because it's not like a group of like 8 criminals kind of operating like a inverted Justice League or whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know what the bad guys, Sinister Six or something like that. It's not that. It's like they give, if anyone wants to be part of their gang through an affiliation, you provide initial access and drop the payload, and Lockbit will handle the rest and then give you a taste for your involvement in the crime, which means it's very appealing. Guys, I don't want to have to, Legion of Doom, thank you very much, Sean. I want to remind you guys, like, think about it for a hot minute, okay? We're dealing with rising inflation. We're dealing with layoffs, right? AI is, some jobs are kind of going to AI. If I'm, let's be real. Like, I have 2 children. I have a wife. I provide for my family financially, right? Let's say I lose my job and I'm in an industry that isn't awesome, like cybersecurity. Okay, I'm in something else that, like, I'm in like the newspaper print business. Okay, or I'm like a paper boy, right? Let's just play that. Okay, so I'm a paper boy. I get laid off. Like, I'm not saying I would commit crime, but if you think about it for a minute, if you are pushed into a position where you don't have good options, you may consider options that you wouldn't normally consider in normal circumstances. If I'm trying to tiptoe around this thing, but hopefully you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. So my point is, ransomware as a service, the affiliate model, is very appealing because you don't need to understand ransomware. You do not need to build up a infrastructure to support the back end of this thing. All you need to do is do something that you've been doing every day already, and you get paid handsomely, right? So there's a lot of reward. Its level of difficulty is low, and it's a quick win, right? So there's a lot of appeal to convince somebody to be criminal and commit this type of, crime, for lack of a better term. And on top of it, I've been reading. I don't have it. I have it over here. Hold on one second. I've been reading Kelly Rich Pope's book, Fool Me Once. It's all about fraud. And she does a really excellent job. I'm actually going to try to get her on the stream. She does an excellent job of not just laying out fraud as like, here's a crime, here's a crime, here's a crime, but she actually gets into the human psyche of like, who is a predator in these crimes? It's not always somebody who's like, ooh, I'm going to be malicious, and like twirling a mustache. Sometimes it's someone who's in a bad situation, or it just, happens upon them, right? Imagine, if you will, Amazon sends you 2 packages when you only ordered 1. You're presented the opportunity to not send the second package back and keep it because no one will know, right? I mean, that's fraud. You're committing fraud at that point. So it's really a good book. Anyways, YKK, sorry, love you, mean it. I'm sure at the end of the day, YKK is just a manufacturing company. Manufacturing is the #1 industry targeted for ransomware, and this just goes to show it.
Barracuda urges customers to replace vulnerable appliances immediately. Following up on a story we covered last week, enterprise security company Barracuda has now warned its customers against using email security gateway appliances impacted by a recently disclosed zero-day exploit, and to replace them immediately. A patch for the vulnerability, which has been exploited since October 2022, had been issued by Barracuda last month to stop the exploit from allowing ESG backdooring. Quote, the vulnerability existed in a module which initially screens the attachments of incoming emails, end quote, the company had said previously. They added, quote, no other Barracuda products, including our SaaS email security services, were subject to the vulnerability identified, end quote. Easily.
Ugh. Whoa. Okay. Well, all right. So if you didn't pick up what this story is saying, okay, allow me, and I will try to be quick on this one since I've been long in the last two. Barracuda, they sell security appliances, okay? One particular appliance is an email gateway, okay? So far, so good, Jer. They have a 0-day exploit. It's not really a 0-day because they do have a patch for it, so that's an inappropriate use of the word 0-day. But they have what appears to be an easily exploitable vulnerability. Okay, that's not good. You've got my attention. And even though there's a patch, they are advising their customers to replace the vulnerable appliances immediately. Okay, immediately. This is a terrible look for Barracuda, first of all. Second of all, this is kind of an absurd guidance from Barracuda, okay? Let me tell you why. First of all, your product is so vulnerable that the preferred solution in a vacuum is to replace it. That really says, that reads terrible for you and your product, right? Where the solution is to get rid of it altogether, first of all. Second of all, there's a patch available for it, and they say you should still replace. Okay, that's interesting, but we're going to keep going. Third of all, and here's the real thing, okay? Any business that owns this piece of technology, you're not going to replace it immediately. The only time you would replace something immediately is if you're actively compromised, and it's like a hole, and it really is this way, but like it's a hole in the side of the hull of your boat. Jamie Fleck, I'm doing a nautical reference here, bud, which is totally out of my element, but I'm speaking to Jamie. It's a hole in the side of your hull, okay? And water's coming in. If you just have a hole in the side of your hull, the business might be like, well, it's still not a big deal, right? The second water is pouring into your hull, your boat is beginning to sink. That's when you say, how do we fix this? We need to replace this immediately. Okay. That's really the only time. There's no way you're going to be able to go to the CFO right now, and I don't know how much this costs, so if it's less than like $5,000, maybe you could just get it replaced immediately. But like going and saying, hey, we need tech to be replaced immediately, that doesn't usually work, okay? Here, in reality, what you need to do is plan. It's called tech refresh, right? You have to plan for tech refresh, okay? You have to get budget. Guys, it's June 9th. A lot of companies, their fiscal year starts July 1st. You know what you don't do? Submit budget 2 weeks before the start of the fiscal year. Budgets have already been submitted. So if you're looking to get budget for this tech immediately, that's not happening. Again, if it's low money, there's petty cash and stuff like that. But if this was like a $200,000 device, probably not happening, right? Make it work, Jerry. Here's some bubble gum and duct tape. Figure it out. We'll get it replaced in July of 25. All right. Now, again, if you're actively compromised, or then you'll get their attention. But it's just not it's not good. Second of all, guys, I'm so sorry. I said I was going to be quick, but it's just one of those days, okay? When you are going to replace a piece of technology immediately, you know what you don't do? Dude, it's not a freaking laptop. It's not a laptop where you're like, oh, just throw that one in the trash. Like, here's a new laptop. It's not that. It's a IT infrastructure appliance. You literally have to take it out, okay? Well, first of all, you got to figure out what's the impact of it not being there for a second, right? This delivers email. Spoiler alert, in 2023, email is a mission critical component of any business, right? We love our Slack and our Discord and stuff, but dude, email is mission critical, period, full stop. All right, so we're going to take the email appliance out. Guess what? The second you take that out, email's not flowing, right? Or you like allow it to pass the filter, which is what the appliance is doing in the first place. And now all the fishes are getting in for however long until you put a new appliance there. So I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, but like this is important. But like, so you have to order a new appliance immediately. You have to pay for it. It has to arrive. You have to have the change window scheduled. You have to remove the appliance. You have to have the knowledge to know what the hell to know what the crap you're doing, take it out, put the new one in, plug it up physically, then you have to go into the admin console, configure it correctly, which is another, like, you might not do it correctly, right? We've seen Carl do it a million times, right? Then you have to test it. Switching an appliance immediately is not a trivial activity, right? I hope that this short TED Talk has conveyed to you this guidance is hot trash. And I get what Barricade is saying. They're saying our appliance is a dumpster fire. Replace it immediately. We're saying this in public forums so we don't get sued later on when your business goes under because you got hosed because our appliance didn't do its proper. But it's not trivial. It's not trivial. You need time, you need money, you need expertise, you need coordination. This is a massive business impact to switch immediately. So, not a good look. Okay? Thank you.
Exploitable Microsoft Visual Studio bug opens developers to takeover. Security researchers are warning about a bug in Microsoft Visual Studio Installer that gives cyber attackers a way to create and distribute malicious extensions to application developers under the guise of being a legitimate software publisher. From there, they could infiltrate development environments, taking control, poisoning code, stealing high-value intellectual property, and more. Microsoft issued a patch for the spoofing vulnerability, tracked as CVE 2023-28299, within its monthly security update for April. According to Varonis, the bug merits attention because it is easily exploitable and exists in a product with a 26% market share and more than 30,000 customers.
All right. I don't fully understand what exactly this bug does. Okay, so I didn't fully appreciate what this bug does, but what I can tell you is it's very easily exploitable bug, so that's not good. That easy exploitation increases the vulnerability score of any vulnerability, okay? Second of all, this is in Microsoft Visual Studio only, which you might say, like, okay, that doesn't really affect me. However, according to the article, Microsoft Visual Studio has a 26% market share. So if you walk into a business and there's 4 people working, developing code, and they're using Visual Studio IDE, one of them's if they're developing code for Windows, one of them's definitely using Visual Studio, statistically speaking. BSEC saying it sounds like they can take over your environment. Okay, well, full environment takeover is not good. Last time I checked, hold on, let me check my notes. Yeah, no, full environment takeover. That's on the really bad section of the scatter plot. So the quick TLDR here is, I would target this is an opportunity for end user awareness. I would forward this to your research and development team, your IT team, and if you have developers in-house, that team, and just say, hey, guy, I just wanted you to be aware of this Visual Studio bug. It's being exploited in the wild. Use those terms and say, hey, like whatever. You'd have to read the whole article. There's probably a patch or some type of workaround to avoid exploitation, or at minimum, make it known how the threat actors are actually compromising. It says a threat actor could impersonate a popular publisher and issue a malicious extension to compromise the system. Okay, so social engineering attack on developers. So yeah, that's what it is. It's a social engineering attack on developers that does a technical exploitation. Final thing I'll say about this is, if you think that this isn't that big a deal, I would ask you to Google SolarWinds compromise, or SolarWinds incident, or SolarWinds supply chain attack, and that will show you what can be done if you can compromise a developer Very bad news. Like, the SolarWinds attack was arguably one of the most sophisticated, involved, elegant attacks in modern history. And it started with a compromised developer. All right, let's do the mid-roll.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Trend Micro. Hybrid work, cloud adoption, and shadow IT have introduced new cybersecurity risks to organizations. Security leaders are left asking, how can I manage our expanding attack surface? Trend Micro, the global leader in cybersecurity, is bringing the cyber risk conversation to more than 120 cities in their Risk to Resilience World Tour. Hear from experts on the latest threat landscape trends, solutions, and platform strategies to manage risk and defend your organization with speed and accuracy.
Hey, Lana.
Find the closest city to you and register today to take a leap towards a more resilient future. Head to trendmicro.com/CISO series.
Yeah, and I want to call out really too, Christopher Bradley points out LastPass was also a compromised dev. That is true. The SolarWinds one is a really good one because the actual threat actors were writing actual code as the actual developer, like doing work, just to make sure that they could put their malicious changes in and not get caught. The LastPass one, it had less to do with developer, but the developer itself was compromised, and then they used the developer's access. The SolarWinds, the threat actors were actually writing code in an IDE. Small nuance of a difference, but Christopher Bradley's correct. That was a LastPass was a pretty gnarly attack as well. All right, it's the mid-roll, everybody. Alana's here, so we can do the Simple Minds now. We can do the Breakfast Club sounds. All right, guys. I want to thank all of you for being here. If you're getting value from the stream, I know today's been a really kind of wild stream. I've been a little bit more stream of consciousness all over the place, but hopefully you're getting value out of the stream. Entertainment value, educational value. If you are, do me a favor and hit that like button. It would go a long way to helping other people find the Simply Cyber channel and the Morning Threat Briefing live streams. I'm all about support, inclusion, making, kind of democratizing education in cybersecurity. So hitting the like button helps other people find it. That's my goal with the Morning Threat Briefing. CJ dropping super chat bombs.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Thank you so much, CJ. Guys, I want to thank the stream sponsors, Barricade Cyber, Panoptcy Security, all of you squad members showing up on the regular, supporting the community, hooking it up. I want to share about the Simply Cyber Community Challenge, guys. This is an initiative. Currently, Anthony Pensabane is rocking the baton. And I saw Anthony's post just yesterday, and I commented on it. Straight crushing it. Aspiring CTI analyst, so if you're into cyber threat intel, connect with Anthony. But Anthony's got the baton for the Simply Cyber Community Challenge. He's going to tag somebody. The Simply Cyber Community Challenge is an initiative that we started as a community in order to allow you to build your professional network and engage with like-minded cybersecurity professionals. Go on LinkedIn, search for the hashtag Simply Cyber Community Challenge, and connect. Literally make the connection, first level connection, with everybody who's commenting and posting on that Simply Cyber Community Challenge post. Build your network. You can take it with you. It doesn't expire. It doesn't get old. And when you're posting on LinkedIn or when you're reading other people's posts, guess what? It'll be perfectly curated with great cybersecurity content of great people. You can begin to engage. You can begin to professionally network. You can grow your, network and then take advantage of it. I'm telling you guys, having a professional network is so incredibly valuable. Do not wait. Every single person that has broken into the industry in the last year, ask them. I promise you, ask any single person that broke into the industry in the last year whether or not professional networking was important to them and their success in getting into the industry. I guarantee you 100% of them will say yes. So take advantage of that. Jenny Housley, if you can, keep an eye out for Anthony. If he doesn't have one, if he's not here, I'll tag somebody, but just let me know. Every single day of the week is a special activity. Yesterday was Thursday meme, where you got to see Dan Reardon make a meme of me blowing fire out my butt. But Fridays are reserved for my son Grayson, and he does a joke of the week. And today is no different. So Grayson came up to me right before the stream and he said, "Dad, here's the joke of the day." I said, "Okay, give it to me, son." He said, "What? Hold on. What happens? What happens when the fish? What happens when fishes? What happens when a fish tells the octopus a joke? What happens when the fish tells the octopus a joke? Or why does the fish like telling octopuses jokes?" That's it. The fish likes telling octopuses jokes because he's always cracking them up. All right. Hopefully I did, Jonathan Carpenter's got the baton. Very nice. Hopefully I did right by Grayson with that joke. L. Scott Munoz slapping 8 knees. I'll follow up with Grayson and let him know. That's really funny. It looks like Anthony Carpenter has been tagged by, not Anthony Carpenter, Scott Carpenter, excuse me, has been tagged by, or Jonathan Carpenter. Jesus, Jerry, you're all over the place. Jonathan Carpenter has been tagged by Anthony. So Jonathan, if you can, let us know if you accept the challenge, and we'll keep on going. I'm going to keep rolling, and then we'll have an extended jaw jacking.
Scientists claim greater than 99% identification rate of ChatGPT content. A team of researchers led by the University of Kansas believe their classifier is effective because it homes in on a range of stylistic differences between human and AI writing. Scientists are more likely to have a richer vocabulary and write longer paragraphs containing more diverse words than machines. They also use punctuation like question marks, brackets, semicolons more frequently than ChatGPT, except for speech marks used for quotations. They claim ChatGPT is also less precise and doesn't provide specific information about figures or other scientists' names as compared to humans. Real science papers also use more equivocal language, using words like however, but, although, this, and because. It is important to note, however, that since the key goal of this work was a proof of concept study, the scope of the work was limited, and follow-up studies are needed to determine the extent of this approach's applicability.
All right. So first of all,
Shall we play a game?
yep, there we go. And then
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
James McQuiggan with the super chat for the jokes in his dad base. James McQuiggan is a level 50 dad joke machine, okay, to have a little World of Warcraft tie-in here. Secondly, Jonathan Carpenter has accepted the challenge. Jonathan, I know you said you're new here. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Simply Cyber community. If you're new here, could someone please explain to Jonathan what the Simply Cyber community challenge is so he realizes what he just signed up for? Jonathan, it's a good time. Catch me at Jawjacking, or here.
Catch me outside. How about that?
Yeah, catch me outside at the end about Jawjacking, and we can do that. Or community members, can you guys help Jonathan out? And then we'll get into that. Okay, so scientists claim greater than 99% ID rate on ChatGPT. On the Simply Cyber community channel, on the Simply Cyber channel, I have produced probably like the last 4 weeks have been ChatGPT videos. Next Wednesday will be my final video in the ChatGPT series. So I preface that, what I'm about to say with that, just to point out that I have spent a lot of time, playing with ChatGPT and messing with ChatGPT and doing different things. Okay, scientists claiming 99% identification rate. I bet you that's correct. However, as they said, they need to do additional research. And by the way, I just used however and a comma, which is two things they said, call out ChatGPT. So maybe I am a bot. I am.
Shall we play a game?
I guess I'm AI. Here's the thing. With that, if you ask ChatGPT, like, write an intro to the Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Brief podcast, it will write something, right? ChatGPT never says, I don't know what you're talking about, or I don't know. It'll make a run at it. It'll make up data. We saw last week, lawyers were using it to write briefings, and it was citing cases that didn't exist. Okay, so ChatGPT will do whatever it wants. However, I bet you anything, if you were to, it's called priming, right? So there's prompting ChatGPT, which is basically like, tell me something, and then it spits it out, right? You're prompting it. there's another thing called priming ChatGPT or priming the AIs, which is basically setting it up with a certain thing. So if you, like for me, with the resumes, right? I would say to ChatGPT, let's role play. You are a hiring manager and a director of information security role with a focus on security operations. You're hiring an entry-level security operations analyst who is going to be looking at SIM alerts and notifying customers because you're an MSP. Now, look at my resume and tell me where you think I'm a strong candidate or not a strong candidate. Everything about that would probably detonate this research because I've primed it to have a perspective to, you can to have an angle of focus, all these things. You could tell ChatGPT, pretend you're a third grader. You could tell ChatGPT, write this in a fun, playful style. Tell ChatGPT to use a lot of emotes and stuff, right? So you can prime ChatGPT to have whatever perspective or whatever, level of education you want. So I think that this research probably works, but it is, I bet you there's a limitation on no priming for this, okay? That's what I think's going on here. Either way,
shall we play a game?
Rock and roll. One final thing I'll say about this, just because it's really interesting. I know a professor somewhere had his students write a paper. He said, okay, I want you to write a paper on whatever, politics in the United States, okay? Or write a paper on whatever. And he said, I want you to use ChatGPT to write it, okay? Basically, there's all this concern about plagiarism and everything like that, and students cheating with ChatGPT. He literally told him, I want you to use ChatGPT. Then I want you to fact check the paper. And what the students found was there was a lot of falsehoods and a lot of lies in the paper, and the exercise wasn't to write the paper. The exercise was to discover that ChatGPT hallucinates and cites things that don't exist and stuff like that. I found it a really interesting academic exercise. That's why I shared it with y'all.
Cisco fixes any Connect bug, giving Windows system privileges. Cisco has now fixed a high-severity vulnerability found in Cisco Secure Client, formerly AnyConnect Secure Mobility Client, software that can let attackers escalate privileges to the system account used by the operating system. This software enables employees to work from anywhere via a secure virtual private network and provides admins with endpoint management and telemetry features. Low-privileged local attackers would have been able to exploit the security flaw tracked as CVE 2023-20178 in low-complexity attacks that don't require user interaction. The bug was fixed in AnyConnect Secure Mobility Client for Windows 4.10 MR7 and Cisco Secure Client for Windows 5.0 MR2.
All right. Cisco AnyConnect is a VPN client that sits on endpoints, and it allows endpoints like your laptop, the traveling salesman, Carl, to remote back into the mothership on a secure connection, right? This is how remote workforce happens in 2023. Apparently, there was a bug that would give Windows system privileges. System, if you don't know, is the same as root on a Linux box. It's like super user. You get system privileges. You own the box. You have the jewels. It's good. Now, the vulnerability does have a 7-8 level out of 10, right? So vulnerabilities get a score between 0 and 10. It has a 7-8, which is high, but I would say that this requires you to already have, it said local low privilege access to the box. Low privilege meaning a generic user account, right? So you just have access to the box in some capacity. This is a privilege escalation vulnerability. So if you've heard the term privilege escalation, this is an actual example of that. It said local low privilege. Local means that you need to be physically at the machine, not remoted into it. I'd have to dig into why. I'm not sure what it is about being physically at the box versus remoted in that would make a difference. I don't see any reason why there would be a difference. Maybe if there's some red teamers in here who want to let me know, I'd love that. But this is, if you're running Cisco AnyConnect, which many businesses are, you may want to make sure that these are getting updated. Just as this isn't a shut everything down and make this a top priority, but you should make sure that this is getting done either automatically or you notify people or you push it if you can remotely, or if you can centrally manage an update of the AnyConnect, do that. Again, I'm not a super Cisco VPN expert, so I don't know if there's some way, like when you connect into the VPN concentrator, which is where the VPN client would connect into, if there's a way to check what version of the AnyConnect client is running and then force an update, if that's the case. Yep, exactly, Leonardo. System privileges, you can do anything on the box. My question was, I don't understand why it's a local low privilege vulnerability. Like, what about it is local versus remote, right? I mean, if I can remote into your box, as generic end user, why can't I exploit this vulnerability to escalate privileges? What about it do I have to be local for? That's my only confusion.
New ChatGPT attack technique spreads malicious packages.
Shall we play a game?
Vulcan Cyber's Voyager 18 research team described the discovery in an advisory published this week. Based on their proof of concept, researcher Bar Lanyado said the team identified a new malicious package spreading technique they called AI package hallucination. The technique involves posing a question to ChatGPT, requesting a package to solve a coding problem, and receiving multiple package recommendations, including some not published in legitimate repositories. By replacing these non-existent packages with their own malicious ones, attackers can deceive future users who rely on ChatGPT's recommendations.
That's cool. That's a really
German
cool.
recruit.
Okay, so really quick, Sergeant Fighter? What is it? Yeah, Sergeant Fighter is a Marine. So for all the Marines here, hoorah. Thanks for being here. I genuinely appreciate all the armed services, but the Marine Corps has a very special place in my heart. For those who didn't know. And I can, if you ask me at JawJack, and I'll explain why if you're interested. So check this out. This is a cool attack. All right? Head nod or hat tip to the threat actors. So here's the deal. You ask ChatGPT to write code. As I just mentioned in the last story, or 2 stories ago, ChatGPT will hallucinate and make crap up sometimes, right? So you say, hey, write hello world, which is like the basic entry program that anyone writes when they're learning a new language. Print hello world, okay? Well, ChatGPT might say, you need to import the sys.lib library and the jerry.foobar library, okay, just to be silly. Well, the jerry.foobar library does not exist, obviously. But if I'm a malicious threat actor, what I go do is I create some nasty, filthy, tentacle slapping around malware, and I put it in a little jar, and I put it up on the shelf, and it's like all slapping around, like, it's just like an alien. And I put a label on the jar, and it says jerry.foobar library, right? And now I've created this malicious thing, and ChatGPT is out there telling people, hey, brah, you want to write some code? Go ahead and import this jerry.foobar. You see what the attack is. You're not injecting malware into it. You're basically setting like little traps, right? And you're hoping, I mean, this is a pretty low likelihood of attack. Plus, you don't know who you're going to get compromised, so you can't spearfish the target. It's like, this is the ultimate spray and pray attack. But you're hoping that ChatGPT will say jerry.foobar library, and some nitwit is going to copy and paste the code from ChatGPT into an IDE or an application, compile it, and roll it out into production. And the second that actual program runs, it's going to reach out, and it's going to grab the jerry.foobar, malicious payload off the shelf, and it's going to open up the jar, and it's going to dump it on to the endpoint, and it's going to say, yeah. And so what's ended up happening is a threat actor can detonate malware because there's a disconnect, because the developer doesn't know that they're importing a malicious library, because they're just relying on ChatGPT. And ChatGPT doesn't know that that's a malicious library because ChatGPT is making crap up. That's the attack. This is just a fun little. This is like a concept that ethical hackers, pen testers, drinking beers at DEF CON come up with, right? This is not really that likely an attack. Why? Think about what has to happen here, right? One, ChatGPT has to consistently recommend this non-existent library. What are the chances of that happening? I don't know, but I mean, come on. 2, you have to write a malicious library and then name it whatever it is ChatGPT's doing. 2. 3, some developer has to be a fool, right?
You are so dumb. You are really dumb.
Some developer has to copy and paste without checking anything out of ChatGPT and load it. Then 3, 4, they have to detonate it in a rich environment that has any value. Then 5, the threat actor, the code actually has to run. The threat actor has to get them. You know, maybe it's some college student who's testing something, trying to get through the lab so he can get out and start drinking his Borg on Thursday at 2 p.m., right? It's a cool idea, but this isn't practical. No sophisticated threat actor's like, I don't know any threat actor that's making that noise, but whatever, it's Friday.
Phlegia leaks sensitive job seeker information. The research team at Cyber News has discovered an open Amazon Web Services cloud instance containing over 360,000 files that it has deduced as belonging to Phlegia, that's P-F-L-E-G-I-A,
Sounds like phlegm.
a German healthcare recruitment platform that hires healthcare professionals for hospitals, nursing homes, outpatient services, and intensive care. The exposed AWS bucket held hundreds of files containing sensitive information within user-submitted resumes. This included full names, dates of birth, occupational history, home addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. Don't forget...
All right, come on. Thank you very much, Leonardo. I'll go check that. If you guys haven't gotten on the Discord, go check it out. Leonardo, Red Teamer in chat right now, has dropped shared some information on the main SC channel in Discord if you want to dig in there. I will be digging in there myself after the stream. All right, a couple things here. One, this is just a healthcare company that has a lot of shared data. This isn't delivering patient care. This is a platform that helps healthcare providers deliver patient care. They left an S3 bucket configured to expose data to the internet. Okay, guys, I've already lost my mind a whole bunch on this stream, so I'm probably not going to do it right now. But come on, like, if I'm not mistaken, at this point in 2023, and hold on, let me back up for a second. S3 buckets are basically databases. That's what Amazon Web Services, which is basically the cloud. A lot of technology solutions are built on AWS. Okay. AWS offers databases. Databases are a standard component of any like web application, right? So you're putting your patient information, your employee information, whatever information into this application. It's got to get stored in a database. Okay, that's what the S3 bucket is. Now, the S3 bucket has to be configured. It needs to be able to retrieve information and update information, delete information, add information, okay? All the standard things you do with databases. Okay, well, who can do that? Where can they do it? How can interfaces do that, right? Normally, okay, you put the database behind the firewall. It's not in the DMZ or the internet-facing zone of a network. That's where the web server sits, right? Like, you're watching this on YouTube, okay, or LinkedIn. You're looking at it through the front-end interface. This is being delivered to you through an application server. You're not able to touch the database, right? The metadata of, like, every comment that you're putting into chat, it's getting stored in some type of relational database, right? In the back end. Probably a NoSQL database, but that's irrelevant. The point is, you're not supposed to be able to directly access it unless you configure it to be that way, right? Sometimes you want it to be that way, right? Like it's a repo or resources or something like that. In 2023, you literally, the AWS S3 buckets come configured to not be publicly facing. So somebody somewhere went in and tweaked it and configured it and made it publicly leakable. This is a major problem. By the way, Germany is in the European Union as far as I know, which means it's GDPR is a relevant law to them. This company, Phlegia, is definitely going to get GDPR fines, so that's not going to be good. This is going to cost some money. But at the end of the day, it just annoys me because if I had to speculate, little tinfoil hat action, if I had to speculate, something wasn't working right. Something wasn't working with the application, and some engineer went in and started tweaking with the settings and opened up the S3 bucket, and it either fixed the problem right then, and they're like, all right, cool. I'm going to go. It is Germany, so they're going to go to like, Oktoberfest, some beer garden, draft a Pilsner or something like that, right? High fives all around because they fixed the application. Or they tweaked it. It still didn't fix the problem, and they didn't go back and configure it to be secure again. One of those two situations happened, if I had to guess. Anyways, it's not good. You really should have processes in place to validate your configurations. Final thing I'll say on this, okay? And I know we're a couple minutes over. Final thing I'll say on this. A lot of times, engineers will roll out a new product and they'll test the crap out of it when they roll it out, okay? Hey, everything's secure. Everything's awesome. No problem. Yes, cool. Then they're in the operations operational phase of the system life cycle, and it never gets really validated again. There's no coming back and reviewing. Changes get made all the time to the application, but it's just business as usual. Hey, is this thing secure? Oh yeah, when we rolled it out, we tested the hell out of this thing. It's secure, good to go. The problem is, when you start modifying it and configuring it and adding things and changing things, you're changing the state. You're changing the known state that you tested, and no one really goes back and tests again. Why? Because it takes time, it takes money, it takes energy, it takes effort. And the engineers are already working on another project. You don't even have the resources anymore. It's so true. It happens all the time. All right, guys. Thanks for indulging me as I freaked out and flipped out on the stream this morning. Let me do some music. If you were here just for the news, I genuinely appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. If you were here just for the news, I bid you good day. Have a wonderful weekend. This was a crazy week. We got to the end of it, though. I'm really happy and pumped for all of you. Thank you all so very much for your continued support. I love that y'all show up every day. You bring the heat, you bring the fire, and you make it really good. This the daily. I do a lot with Simply Cyber, right? We got the Thursday lives, the Wednesday special series, the Monday Let's Plays. We're doing the conference, all these things. But the Daily Cyber Threat Brief podcast, we do the produced videos. The Daily Cyber Threat Brief podcast is my favorite, service of the Simply Cyber platform that I deliver. I love the Daily Cyber Threat Briefing podcast. Team live, team replay, hybrids, getting people out of their comfort zone with Passive Observer and the Simply Cyber Community Challenge. It's so good. Sublime Ghost. Yeah, no. I am